Karen, I don't know what I'm going to do without you. You have a crazy amount of energy and an amazing sense of enthusiasm and the biggest smile of any volunteer we have ever had. You are a user group's dream volunteer. We can't thank you enough for everything you've done over the years, and I personally am going to miss you terribly.
What can I say about Karen? All I can say is that Karen is just such good fun. When we were in Denver in March at an ODTUG board meeting, Karen and I spent the day at the aquarium, which is where we're having our party at this year's K-Scope, and it was just such fun. If you go looking for Nemo, then who better to take with you than Nemo themselves? Seriously, from the moment I joined ODTUG as a volunteer, first with the Modern Application Development track at K-Scope, which is now the Extending SAS, through to becoming a board member, Karen has done nothing but support and encourage me. And her capacity for that encouragement is just unbelievable. So, what can I say about Karen? She's fun, and we're going to really miss Karen.
Hi, Karen. I wanted to really wish you well on rolling off the board this year. It has been unbelievable working with you, volunteering with you. You are a force of nature. Every time I meet you at any conference, I can't wait to hear where you're going, what your next adventure is. Are you coming from skiing and going to the beach? Did you just finish your latest trek? And your combination of always having an amazing outlook, trying to help people, helping in the community, volunteering, always with a good word for anybody, always with a positive outlook, and your mix of tech and health and sportiness is really something to be admired. So we really, really want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all that you've done for ODTUG the past few years. I, for one, know it is not easy. I was on the board myself, never did the conference committee or half of what you were able to achieve. We're so proud of you as an incredible woman in technology. And from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for your service. And we can't wait to celebrate together at the K-Scope conference this year. Bye now.
Hey, Karen. You've done an amazing job the last 2 years, navigating through extremely rough seas to get us to the other side of COVID with 2 successful K-Scopes underneath our belts. We couldn't have done it without you.
Hey, Karen. I want to say thank you. Thank you for your positivity. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being a role model to me. Thank you for your expertise in the Apex community. Thank you for paving the way for other women in technology like myself. And thank you above all for your friendship. I can't imagine ODTUG without you, but I know we will be better for having you as a part of it. And I wish you a ton of happiness in your newfound free time after ODTUG. And I hope you travel and see the world and send us lots of pics.
Karen, I don't think anyone truly realizes or appreciates the work that you've put into making K-Scope such a success over the years. Even through the most challenging of situations, you and your team managed to pull off an in-person K-Scope conference as we returned from the confines of a global pandemic. And this year's K-Scope is going to be even more exciting thanks to your guidance, your love, and your dedication to the Oracle community. On a personal level, you have been a role model to me and someone I look up to. Thank you for all that you've done for ODTUG and for K-Scope.
Hi Karen and Tim, I wanted to thank you both for your long service to the ODTUG community. I remember fondly the first time we met many years ago, and you both encouraged me to either speak, be involved with the community, host meetups, be part of the leadership program, And now I'm very proud of the great work we've all accomplished together as part of the board. You will be missed, but I'm sure we'll see each other again at Kscope next year and after that as well.
There are some who call me Tim.
It takes a truly special person to lead an organization like ODTUG. You have to be willing to work for free in the service of others, often late at night after long days at your day job. It takes someone who appreciates the nuances of leading volunteers. It takes someone who appreciates the differences in the various ODTUG communities, and someone who can maintain key relationships at Oracle. It takes someone who is deeply passionate about technology and education, and in the case of Tim, it takes someone who is willing to do all of this during a global pandemic where the key decisions made by the president of ODTUG could have lasting implications. As many of you may know, ODTUG has term limits, and there are two main reasons for this. The first reason is to create opportunities for new members, and the second reason is that someone like Tim could likely end up as president for life. He is so well liked and so well qualified that why would you want anyone else? While ODTUG is solidly behind term limits, in a situation like now where Tim is about to roll off of the board of directors, it is a very bittersweet situation because we will all miss him very much. So if you run into Tim, please thank him for his service to ODTUG and to all of its members, and thank him for caring so much about all of us.
So what can I say about Tim? Well, on a personal level, Tim has been really encouraging to me. From the moment I joined the ODTUG board, he's encouraged me to have my say. He's listened to what I have to do, even as the new person, and he's been a great president. But more than that, Tim has a brilliant ability to take it all in and think about what's being said. And when you've got a board full of passionate people, by nature we're passionate people, so when there's a debate going on the board, Tim listens, takes it all in, and then he'll summarize it and help us to move on, which is a skill we are really going to miss. So thanks, Tim, for everything that you've done for us, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you, Tim, for helping ODTUG navigate what will likely prove to be the most challenging moment in its history, a global pandemic. I've enjoyed our time working together on the board of directors and have appreciated your insights and guidance to not only myself, but the rest of the board as well. Thank you again, and I look forward to our continued friendship as fellow Oracle enthusiasts.
Tim, as a fellow Chicagoan, you're the only other board member that really understands what it's like to go through a Midwestern winter. Thanks for your dedication, your persistence, and most of all, your leadership these past several years.
Tim, you know how I feel about filming, so you must be a pretty special friend in order for me to be doing this. You have been a very thoughtful and steady presence over the years, and I am sure that when you agreed to run for president, you thought you knew what you were getting into, and I am also sure it was nothing like that. And yet your passion and commitment to the group kept you coming back even through these last few crazy years. ODTUG has benefited greatly from your leadership. Thank you so much for sticking it out, and thank you for answering all of my incessant questions about British royalty. I feel like I'm an expert now. I'm gonna miss you, my friend.
Hey, Tim. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your leadership and for setting such a good example of what a leader should be, not only for me, but for ODTUG as an organization. Thank you for teaching me about EPM and introducing me to the whole EPM community. And thank you the most for convincing me that running for the board wasn't such a horrible, scary idea, and it turned out to actually be really great. thank you for that. And thank you for one of my most prized possessions, my anteater. Thank you, Tim.
So this story is for my buddy, Tim German. Tim and I have known each other, actually know how far back it went. 10 years, 10-ish years, I guess. When I give technical presentations, I like to do it with other people. One, because it's easier. It's not as much work when I take them on myself. And two, because you get different perspectives, and it makes doing a more in-depth presentation easier. It's always a time suck to do these things. When I first cornered Tim and suckered him into doing it, doing a joint presentation with me, we stand up, in the podium in front of the rest of the audience, and Tim would be behind him. We would switch back and forth between, sitting there and hitting the forward button on the laptop. And when Tim first started presenting, his hands were always below the podium. And that was because his hand would tremble. He was so nervous. He forced himself to do it. He was there. He really went outside of the area, the place that he was comfortable with. And he would do it. And I didn't, for once, Tim, I didn't make fun of you. By the time I left the Oracle space, when I would give a presentation with Tim, and Tim was a very good guy, we did it, I guess, practically every year, completely smooth. He had grown. He had grown from being nervous and speaking in front of, 150 people, 100 people, whatever the number was, to just being calm, cool, and collected. It was wonderful to be a very, very small part of that process. Tim, it was great, and I hope to present with you in the future as well.
Well, my story around Tim is PG-13, I would say. So I also met Tim about 10-ish years ago at the conference, which was a real honor because he's such a great guy. And I remember, I don't remember if it was the first year, but it was definitely New Orleans, and the debauchery that happens in New Orleans, especially for K-scopers, is legendary. Anyway, we were out one night. I can't remember if it was after the special event, and it was Tim, Cameron, myself, and some other folks. It was about 6 or 7. I think Nader was there too. And, everybody was dancing and laughing, and Tim was off to the side just smiling, drinking his beer like a good Englishman. And I don't know what happened, but there was somebody who was with us who decided, why is this guy not dancing? I'm going to go get him to dance. And so this young lady proceeded to go have some fun at Tim's expense and start dancing with him in a PG-13 way, almost rated R. And poor Tim, I love this guy so much. He's such a great guy. He turned beet red. And he just stood there like a board while this was being done to him. And everybody's laughing. And I don't know, we got distracted, we laughed and we were talking. And then I looked up, that guy was gone. We never saw him again that night. He was just like so out of his element, like, get me away from these people. And we saw him the next day and he would not want to talk about it. Fast forward to a few years later, I think we were in Miami this time. And by this time, I think Tim was definitely on the conference committee or on the board. And I'm like, where is Tim? And where do I find Tim after a couple of drinks? On the dance floor, getting his groove on. So it's not just growth from a presenting perspective, but just even like just letting his hair down a little bit. We know how those English can be, but I like to think I helped contribute to Tim loosening up a little bit at the conference and just having a good old time. Yes. He got some moves now. He got some moves now. At first he didn't have any, but now he has a few. But on a serious note, as the former president, I love the organization. It's done a lot for me personally. I've made a lot of good friends, including Tim. And when it was time to leave, it's hard because, you know, I was on the board for 6 years and I felt very invested in the organization. But one of the things that really helped me to just let go and move on and do other things was knowing that I was leaving the organization in Tim's hands as the new president. He has shown so much passion and dedication to ODTUG, and I think the organization is a much better place because of his leadership, especially over these difficult years during COVID and trying to move the organization forward despite of. So with that, I say thank you, Tim, for being the leader that you have been. We appreciate you and we thank you